All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Another exciting week, another Bitcoin Summer live stream. And we've got special guests this time. Very excited. You might recognize Clyde and John, who are usually here with us. But Jonathan Dunsmoor, who is, and I'll just say what I just said before we started recording. He's been an acquaintance, he's been a friend, he's been an attorney, and he's just been an all around great guy to me. And Jonathan and I met, we were trying to figure it out back in 2017, 2018 in Toronto during like the ICO craze of crypto. And I think that's going to be part of the interesting part of the dynamic that you can bring to the conversation. Because Jonathan, if you want to tell us a little bit about your background as a securities attorney, but you've been in this space for like a long time, right? And you've seen kind of this like evolution of back when we first met, like who knows what these projects were trying to pull off. And now we're kind of at this crossroads where like we're wearing suits all of a sudden. We woke up one day and we had a suit and tie on, and like the suits are here, the TradFi guys are here, and it's starting to get pretty serious. And I guess maybe we can lead off with that question, which is, first of all, maybe just a little bit about your background, and then like how have you seen the space, the crypto space evolve, and then I want to get more into like the regulatory details of today specifically, but we'll start very broadly.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. Like, Evan, I can't explain in words how great it is to see your face and hear that you're on this project, because I believe in DeFi more so right now than I think almost anything else. And we'll get to a little bit more about that in a bit. But so I am a former securities lawyer in New York. I have gone into now trying to put truth on chain, because I believe that's very important with this symbiotic relationship between AI and blockchain. I think if we don't figure that out, we're going to have a lot more hallucinations in places where we don't want hallucinations, like medical schools and law schools and things like that, as we've already seen with some folks. But my background in this space was as a securities lawyer, getting calls from Toronto, getting calls up from Manhattan when I was in Buffalo, saying, hey, we want to do these ICOs. And I was like, yeah, you're all going to jail. This is a terrible idea. This is security. Little did I know the SEC was going to be handing out parking tickets at that time. We would have, maybe done a couple of those and said, oops, price of doing business. Here's $4 million raised and a $10,000 fine. But, in all seriousness, that's how
you might have to add a couple extra zeros to those numbers, Jonathan. I think, what is it? EOS raised $4 billion and only paid $10 million, right?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, walking away with a slap on the wrist, but it was a wild time. It was a fun time. But I had a client who basically said, you keep telling us no, but how would securities work on chain? And that's where we are right now, right? With blockchain really leading the way of not only the securities market, but the derivatives market and the entire commodities market being shooken up by my buddy Mike going to be the CFTC chair, or head that entire kind of department. And I think that what I have been in this industry for almost 10 years have seen is this kind of evolution and ebb and flow from, we were almost wildcatting it and trying to figure out what ways we could get around certain provisions and, what exemptions could we use to try to comply with the law in the very early days. Because like I said, I knew what this stuff was securities, especially when there was no product. You know what I mean? It'd be one thing if there was, as I said, a coin machine or a laundry machine, or for those that remember arcades, you could put the token in. That's where I started. But now at this point, we're seeing everything from cultural related memes and coins to, this new era of DeFi. So to say that I'm pumped is beyond words. Like I am so excited for the future of this space and the future of technology.
Yeah, and I want to talk specifically about just the current administration, because we've seen like kind of this ushering in of the golden era, and maybe that's a contentious way to put it. But like in your opinion, just in the last 12 months, we've got like the crypto czar has been appointed, and I'm curious, like what have you seen has been like the evolution on that front from like the federal government as far as how they're treating crypto regulation?
So I have to put on one of my hats as Stand with Crypto's chapter president for South Carolina. It is really the crypto community and that arm of our trade group that has really kind of put the pressure on and said, hey, the crypto world needs a voice. And we are here to be that voice. And that's why this administration, who was very pro crypto to begin with, has effectively become, like you said, kind of almost a golden era of crypto. Now, some of that has been a little bit bad and nefarious. They believe, as CoffeeZilla kind of puts it, that all crime is legal. And I don't think that's true at all. I think this administration is being more forgiving when it comes to, oh, may have breached the letter of the law, but not necessarily the spirit, right? So if you go out and create an Evan coin and it's really, about the culture, then that's one thing. But if you go out and create an Evan coin and say, hey, we've got Michael Jordan joining and Paulo Abdul, and I'm really showing my age here, Chaperone, people like that are actually buying the coin and it's all false, then that's still fraud, and that can still be prosecuted and persecuted, because we will hammer you to a cross at this point, I think, in the industry. But yeah, so we are in a kind of golden age, but I do think that we need to work better at reaching across the aisle and making sure that the Democrats know that this is just technology. We need to make sure that they understand that if you take away DeFi, you're not only going to unbank and debank so many, good projects that could potentially open up tremendous avenues of not only investment, but loan opportunities, as you guys have done with Bitcoin. And so it really creates this ecosystem where if you cut off what we're doing now, you are not only damaging the country, but you're potentially damaging the entire world economy by not allowing some of the best and brightest to grow in the strongest economy in the world.
Yeah, and Clyde or John, feel free if you guys want to chime in. Otherwise, I got like a list of questions I want to get down to, because these are like my favorite topics, all converging right here. So,
and I'll go forever. I'm a former lawyer. We'll talk all day.
You send me the bill afterwards.
I'll put it on the tab.
No, John, I like what you share about how a lot of the crypto bullishness is not necessarily, you talk about your community in the Carolinas, and I think you're right in that a lot of the positive changes we're seeing, it's not exactly top down coming from the administration, but it's a lot of communities and people that seized a good environment to progress things, and that's what it seems to me. And I have to think about the recent. Did you see when they asked Trump about kind of on your other point about just general forgiveness around breaking the letter of the law but not the spirit? You saw Trump get asked about CZ, right? You know this one.
I did. Yes.
So I have to wonder to what extent like the administration even knows what they're doing sometimes, because Trump, maybe he's just doing the plausible deniability thing with not even knowing the guy. But yeah,
I know my life is busy, so I can only imagine how busy a president is, regardless of age or mental capacity or anything like that. I can only imagine what his schedule looks like, and I meet a lot of people, so I'm hoping that it was just they used Xi Jinping instead of CZ or something like that, and it just the name's missed maybe. But
wait, I'm out of the loop here. What did I miss? What did he use Xi Jinping's name instead of CZ's?
No. For those that missed the clip, after Trump recently parted CZ of Binance, the crime season goat, Trump was. Oh man, I wish you could do this impression of him, but Trump basically went like, they asked, hey, why did you recently pardon CZ? He'd been convicted of multiple, horrible financial crimes. And he goes, I'm going to be honest. I don't even know the guy. Don't know who he is. Never heard of him, but had to pardon him. And I think it just lends to your point, John, about how a lot of the positive changes we're seeing, it's coming from the community. Like, yeah, it's fertile grounds for the change, but like, I think it's just people that are pushing this. So it's cool that you have that you're tapped into your immediate community and making some positive changes in the U.S. I'm in Hong Kong, and it's a different regulatory environment. It's also quite bullish, but they're also going after a huge tokenization push. A lot of the TradFi big banks are tokenizing. Money markets tokenizing ETFs, and there's like all these very prescripted frameworks to work within that's pushing that. It's interesting to see whereas we're still kind of seemingly gathering our bearings and figuring out the frameworks that are working for us in the U.S. and figuring out what's okay and what's not okay. But it seems like you're pushing that, and you have the policy background to really understand that. I don't have that legal background. I'm Cheers.
Yeah, I really want to push it at this point because I think we have a lot of catching up to do. I've talked about the ebb and flow, but like choke point 2.0 was a real thing. We have real documents now. I think that anybody in this space long enough will tell you how they've been debanked or they've had to, forego relationships because they were in crypto. I think it's just recently that we've started seeing, Meta taking on crypto related ads and blockchain related ads again, which is just insane to think about, especially given that they were, trying to be their own kind of dollar stable coin. So it is this really kind of community effort of like, okay, what do we actually believe in as a community, and how do we kind of make that actual reality? Because we have this little bubble that we live in and we talk about with crypto and blockchain. But then when we get out into the real world and people are like, what's Bitcoin? It's at 100 grand. What? Like, so there's still this giant chasm we have to, kind of swing over to. And the TradFi folks and everything are getting it. But at this point, I'm really hoping that we can get more community and more individual involvement, because I know for a fact that this is an evolutionary technology that we need for globalization. Like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I want to touch a little bit on something you said, Jonathan, and Clyde kind of echoed it, was the following the letter or breaking the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law, which I personally think, nobody send me to jail, but I think that's the way to actually like run the world. A lot of times you get caught up on jaywalking when it's like, an unbelievable thing that, anyway, without going too far down a rabbit hole of my own personal philosophy, I'm curious your opinion. If we do see, Trump's in his second term now, whenever that is over, unless he runs for a third term, which would be hilarious. Like, I think people on the left's heads would explode, and I would appreciate that a little bit. But if the Democrats are to take power again, and this is something that I've been in conversations with strategy people at Neutron and at other organizations that are in crypto. Like, what is the strategy for these on-chain or any crypto companies with the Democrats? Like, is there anyone spearheading the effort to be pro-crypto on that side, or is it just going to be like this 4-year pendulum back and forth where, hey, we had the Trump administration gave us some clarity, some regulation. They were pushing the ball down the field, and then all of a sudden we go straight back to chaos once the Democrats take over.
So let me do a couple disclaimers here. I am speaking for myself, not with Stand with Crypto or any of the other organizations that I represent, but it is that Stand with Crypto arm that is reaching out to all sides. You know what I mean? And they have had a lot of really good inroads, especially in blue states where you can actually kind of speak to your representative a lot easier than you can if, I was calling up to New York down in South Carolina. I think my accent's been corrupted at this point, so they may not take my calls. But, it's those reaching across the aisle and showing, hey, this is how this stuff works. This is what this technology can do. This can prevent fraud. And one of the things that is really resonating in South Carolina, and this is among all party lines, is what we're trying to build called transparent accounting, because there's been a bunch of boo-boos, one to the point of they misplaced. They found it, but it was misplaced by our comptroller, $1.8 billion. So as a taxpayer, missing $1.8 billion is something that would frustrate most people. But then also in my hometown, our sheriff, who's been a sheriff for 20 years, was just pled guilty a couple weeks ago to federal embezzlement charges. So at this point, we know that people in the law, in the, all sections of the government law, are breaking the law, right? And so if we can use this technology to get to that spirit instead of worrying about the letter, right? Because the letter's already been broken. The letter's already smashed for these people. But if we can get to the spirit and show that, hey, we can track on chain, government offices, government contractors, things like that. Now, we don't want to get down to the point where I know what you guys are spending, your money on that I pay you as a contractor from the government, right? That becomes that CBDC overarching dystopian of, hey, so-and-so's going to the bar too much, or so-and-so's going to the strip club or something too much. But for the government, right, that's where we know they're already kind of breaking the law. We need to bring them back to the spirit. And as a former civil rights lawyer for the ACLU of Pennsylvania, I can always remind people in courtrooms and other places that slavery used to be legal in this place, right? That was really, really bad, right? So, when you focus on spirit and letter, always remember there was some really horrible things in this country that used to be legal that are no longer legal because the spirit matters more than the letter. Now that doesn't mean go out and break the law, but talk to your lawyers first. I have a bunch of great lawyers I can, put you in touch with. But when it comes to what we have to do in this industry, we need to focus more on the spirit, not necessarily the letter, but there are risks, there are dragons. And to your point, there may be Democratic tailwinds next as early as next year with the midterms. So we're hoping that doesn't happen.
John, I can't help but think, I also agree. Reporting my crypto holdings basically is slavery, and we gotta just we gotta get rid of that. Yeah, no. No. Joking, but joking aside, it's a plausible example, and I think we have the chance, and I mean, at least the U.S. has the chance to adjust course as we go when it comes to the application of these laws, and I think you're right to see an opportunity at hand.
I mean,
well, if I may, and I was just joking with someone about this the other day at Crypto Monday Spartanburg. We have a little part of our jurisprudence where it was not Al Capone being taken down by the FBI or the DOJ or something in Chicago or Illinois. Like, it was the tax man. So like, reporting on taxes is one of the things that I am afraid that if the IRS comes back and goes, wait, you forgot that one, transaction. Were you money laundering there? Were you doing something nefarious? Did you fail to report that crypto transaction? And I think that could add up. So that does go to the spirit and letter in a really, not necessarily slavery. I don't want to make that a meme, but it does highlight some of the problems that we do have with the current existing laws.
Just like people are, the general public should not be a fan of CBDs or the centralized stablecoins. The same way, wouldn't people that are working in the government not really be a fan of, the complete clear transparency of now the people watching them? Like, of course, it's something we want, but trying to pitch that to government representatives, I can't imagine they'd be too thrilled about it.
So that's a great point, John. And I think I know I've spoken with several folks in the governments from this country and other countries about this. And we believe that we'll be able to kind of weed out the bad apples and the corrupt politicians and the corrupt career politicians that we all hate, regardless of, red, white, or blue. And I think that it becomes something where it's going to be kind of, it's going to be a tough transition at first, but I know eventually it's going to be required, right? Because how do we really truly monitor a government when we can only do a consensus every 10 years? We can only, get, I don't know if you've ever requested a Freedom of Information Act, but they can drag that thing out for years as well. So this type of technology is ultimately inevitable for government transparency. And the best way to limit government, the best way to control government is to monitor their purse strings.
That's a huge uphill battle. But I mean, that's something that, even harkening back to the ICO days, that's like, I mean, there haven't been, I would say, for everything that's ever been attempted in blockchain, there's not many like native fits for applications, but that's certainly one of them, is that, that transparency as far as, like budgeting or even like voting. But those are things that, God bless you for taking that burden on your back, because that's going to be a long and arduous process to get there. And I guess I want to talk a little bit about just one more thing on the specifics of the regulatory side. And I know you're not necessarily representing, you don't have your lawyer hat on per se, but you've got your expert hat on. The Clarity Act is something that has been in the headlines lately, and I'm curious if you could just give us like at a high level, like what is that, and what does that do for the space and for people that are building in the space?
The most important thing to worry about the Clarity Act, from my perspective, is the banks don't want to give interest on stablecoins. And to me, that really kind of breaks not only what we're trying to build, because ultimately stable coins help everyone, you know what I mean? And really create an ecosystem that makes the entire economy grow. Because if I'm in an unstable country, I would probably take USDCs or some other type of stable. I don't want to prove any stable here, but I would rather take that in some cases than Bitcoin, because it may be harder to get out of Bitcoin if there is a price fluctuation. And so I look at Bitcoin as gold and stable coins as a stable transaction of value. And Clarity allows for stable coins to give interest to the people. And I think that's the most important thing, that when people hear Clarity, that type of clarity on what can be considered interest bearing or dividends or all of these other kind of mechanisms are arguably the most important part of that bill. I think that if we can accomplish that, then we can get below these or get out of these terrible, checking interest rates that are like 1% now, or, sometimes you get 4% or something, but they're just kind of garbage. And so the more people that we can switch on to stable coins and using DeFi wallets and things like that, the things that I think will really kind of expand this industry, especially when it comes to e-commerce. The Clarity Act will provide that, because people can then hold stables and earn interest, whereas the rest of the world can already hold stables and earn interest on our dollars, on our USDC. So it's just crazy that we can't as Americans. It seems un-American.
I really like the little e-commerce footnote that you threw in there. I think it's actually, we don't like mention that so often in crypto, but it is just the value layer of the internet is obviously the best grounds for crypto to flourish. And to your point, yeah, be it DeFi wallets or what the mechanism is, I think that is somewhere when the regulation is properly in place. That's such a natural place for us to integrate and to go to. So I really like that footnote. Also, I'm loving the puppy in the background, just kind of emphatically agreeing with your points. It's
I apologize. I should have closed the door. He's like, hell yeah.
It is like, he's like, hell yeah. He's like, yeah, we got to get DeFi. I was like, woo, 100% we do.
Yeah, he just agreed with you.
Hey, so one other thing I want to touch on here, because Jonathan, we spend a lot of time on this specific, I don't know, podcast or whatever we're doing here. We talk a lot with people that are interested in like DATs, these digital asset treasuries, and ETFs, and I mentioned at the top of the show that like we've kind of had to, as an industry, put our suits on, and we're starting to deal more with like TradFi. And I'm curious from your perspective, like, some of these ETFs, I mean, we're dealing with like Vanguard, we're dealing with BlackRock, we're dealing with guys that, we like as Neutron or anybody else that's building like an on-chain product that, we believe is really in like the spirit of crypto itself. It's the reason we're building it is so that it can be sort of this permissionless, trustless thing that you can do with self-custody. How do we, like, are we at a serious disadvantage in the regulatory environment right now because those big guys that have been in the TradFi space that maybe can appoint the next czar of crypto or can be in the pockets of those Republicans or Democratic, governors or politicians, like how do you see that playing out? Like, what's the real like edge that maybe the on-chain people can get, or is there really no edge? Are we just at the mercy of the big boys now?
Oh, that's a really thoughtful question. I think there is some advantages to being an incumbent, right? Especially a rich incumbent like these folks are. Going to BlackRock and trying to challenge them, or JP Morgan, who, once said Bitcoin was worth less than his shoes or something. I think that really kind of reminds us that we are going against the fray. And the more we go against the fray, the harder it is. But there is always, and there will always be, a need for the David versus Goliath story. There's always going to be a need for someone to challenge the status quo and to make the thing that should be really accessible to the people accessible. Because I can promise you, as sexy as the ETFs are and as sexy as all the TradFi stuff is, it's not going to be something where the average person from another country can get involved with it, or it's not going to be something where some kid who maybe not have enough money to open an account kind of thing can get involved with it. And I think those are really kind of that's kind of the mechanism of DeFi that really kind of changes the entire game, because you don't have to worry about your government of another country particularly saying, hey, we know better than you and our monetary policy is better. We've seen country after country since we've known each other, Evan, really kind of experience hyperinflation. We bitch about it here, but even if it is 10%, that doesn't compare to Egypt's, I think, almost 200%. So DeFi is the ultimate kind of mechanism when it comes to ultimately trying to create a globalized ecosystem that can create massive amounts of wealth and be able to transfer it, on chain, be protected, be utilized really well. And those other guys are just now trying to figure out how to put securities on chain, like my guy was questioning back in 2017. So I think you guys have a competitive advantage that should kick those guys in the teeth a little bit.
I like that. Yeah. And not to answer my own question here, but another just tidbit on that, because I'm just thinking through as you answer there, is like the interesting thing is whenever these big boys start to want to set themselves apart, like the ETFs. We heard from the guy from Babylon a couple of weeks ago. He said, the ETFs, like right now, they're all pretty much the same product. And now they're starting to look into the on-chain strategies and partner with, companies potentially like Neutron that could, offer these on-chain strategies. So, maybe it'll come full circle in that regard. John, other John or Clyde, you guys want to chime in here at all? I feel like I'm taking the whole space up here with my old buddy Jonathan here.
I mean, I just had a question about the ETFs or DATs. If you know any that are actively looking to get involved with BTC-Fi or any specific kind of yield generating products.
Yeah, I can make some calls and send some emails out. We'll have to have a longer discussion about that, but I think that would.
I wasn't meaning specifically like BDing you right now. I just meant like if you had a comment on that like landscape right now in the DAT or ETF world and kind of what their appetite might look like.
I think right now, especially for the blockchain space, everybody understands, whether they like to admit it or not, that either this technology is very valuable and we need to utilize it, or that the eventuality is that Bitcoin is going to remain our form of digital gold. And so I think that everybody is pretty aggressive when it comes to deals that could be made. And I think that as we kind of continue to evolve in this space, those deals are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's the exciting part. I have, this is my personal investment thesis. This is not investment advice. My personal investment thesis is that Bitcoin is going to end up being about $10 to $12 million a coin within the next decade because of the value of it. So I think when you look at overall monetary policies and what we're doing with quantitative easing and the failure of any type of government to figure out what to do with the debt, we're going to need something to hedge against. And as far as I know, that's only Bitcoin and all the crazy other things that people are building as it relates to monetary policy.
Do you think people that are running these ETFs and DATs agree with that mindset, or they're just hopping on the train now because it seems like a possible opportunity? Like right now?
Well, so it's Wall Street. If they see any type of blood in the water, they're jumping in the water, right? But that being said, I do think there are some people who are truly visionary in their overall economic investment thesis that says, hey, we see that this actually has long-term economic value, and as we build on that, it's going to create massive shareholder value for us and make us look like geniuses, right? A couple of years ago when Evan and I met, right, Michael Saylor was poo-pooed and not necessarily the darling of Wall Street as he is now. Well, not to say necessarily darling, but He's much more favored than he is now. We used to get ushered out of rooms sometimes when we would talk about crypto, if it was too close to the Wall Street guys, and now we're invited to those rooms. So it's definitely a different type of environment, and there's definitely a different type of appetite. But whether I can say the entire ecosystem is genuine or it's just because they smell blood, I would say it's a little bit of both, but more likely the blood right now.
Yeah, 7-8 years, it flies by pretty quickly. And I'll be curious to see where we're at in another 7 to 8 years. I'm sure it'll go by twice as fast. Jonathan, I don't want to spend too much more of your time, but verified claims, stand with crypto Mondays. You got a lot going on. If you want to just take a minute to shill some of these, your favorite, all of them, the floor is yours.
I appreciate that. So I guess the biggest thing that I can shill is stand with crypto, because I cannot express in words how important it is for everyone, regardless of what state you're in or what state you visit a lot. It is incredibly imperative that you get involved with Stand with Crypto. Go sign up for the newsletters, go sign up for all that kind of fun stuff so that you can be aware if your state or if your representative all of a sudden turns anti-crypto. That's one of the biggest things that I'm working on in South Carolina. That's why I'm doing, the Crypto Mondays thing. That's why I'm doing all the stuff with the South Carolina Emerging Technology Association and transparent accounting, so that when God forbid that time does come where, the House switches sides or the federal government becomes anti-crypto and choke point 3.0 comes, we can say, look at all we've built on blockchain. Look at all we've done. This is not bad technology. There may be bad people, but there will always be bad people. And so we're trying to use this technology for good. And so that's exactly what Verified Claims is doing by putting data on chain, because when an AI goes to search for that data and it makes up something, you need to be able to find out where it made that up. And right now we don't have that. So if you start, hopefully in early 2026, if you start saying on Google or some other search engine, check by verified claims that this occurred or that occurred or that this person has that, you'll start seeing that. And then with the global lawyer directory, we hope to avoid the problems that the UK is having in not being able to police their paralegals. So I think in this point, we're really trying to build an entire ecosystem that is not just crypto related and blockchain related, but overall kind of very symbiotic to the AI race. And for those, I didn't get to mention this earlier, and I apologize, Clyde, but going back to e-commerce, if you look up X402, that's an internet protocol that basically says a payment's missing. And so Coinbase has been kind enough to kind of turn on the world to that. And I feel like once we start getting a really firm grasp of that as an ecosystem, as crypto natives, we're going to really change the world. We're going to really, make it so we don't need a PayPal. We don't need these third-party processors that have been, damaging small businesses. Charging 3%, is just, for a lot of businesses right now, that's a lot. That keeps eating into profits, and the profits are getting thinner and thinner. So we're just building on everything we can here.
I actually want to hop in and stand with crypto one more time, and I've been poking around during this call here and then during the stream, and this is an awesome website that you built. This is so, I feel like you see a lot of doomers in crypto that are just kind of like, oh my God, we're never gonna change the system, this and that. This is incredibly based, man. I went in and I punched in my address, and now I'm seeing my politicians back in Minnesota where I could still vote if I need to, and yeah, we got to get Amy Klobuchar out of there. Jeez, man, she's no help.
No comment. I didn't build it, but I am part of the organization. I'm honored to be chapter president for South Carolina and try to make this place a fortress for digital rights. We're working on some really cool things, and I'm hoping that we can copy and paste it and spread it all over this country, because I love this place.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm just so unilaterally supportive of anything involving exercising your democratic rights. This is really cool. What a great thing to be a part of. Thanks for supporting that. Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me and allowing me to shill it.
Absolutely, Jonathan. You're always welcome to come back, and as long as we get to pick your brain on some of that expert level stuff that we can't understand. By the way,
happy to.
What's the big college football game? The SEC, ACC. What matchup are you going to this weekend?
Well, so both of my teams are out of. They're not playing in the state. So for those that don't know, I've been going around to all of the USC and Clemson home games and pitching a tent and talking to people about crypto, handing out bottled waters. And this week, Clemson is taking on Louisville in Louisville, and they're number 19. And Clemson has fallen out of the top 10. So has South Carolina fallen out of the top 10. But my beloved Gamecocks are facing the Texas A&M Aggies, who are ranked number 3 in
Tough
Aggie
place
land.
to play.
No place to play, and I'm not sure it's going to look good. If they were coming to Columbia, I think we would probably at least give them a run for their money. But yeah, it's going to be a tough weekend, guys. It's going to be a tough weekend.
Well, we wish you all the best, Jonathan. I got Pitt Notre Dame playing here in Pittsburgh this weekend, so I'm excited about that. College game day is going to be here.
Yeah,
but we will let you run me, Clyde, and I like how we call you Other John, even though Fluffy, you're with us every week. But we're going to stick around. We're going to give some updates on the Neutron side of things. But Jonathan, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Maybe just to give a quick, just 10 seconds on where people can find more information about these things.
Crypto Twitter is a thing, right? So Dunsmoor, Dunsmoor, Esquire, ESQ. Is my crypto Twitter. LinkedIn, of course, Jonathan Dunsmoor, if you want to connect and use that as your Rolodex. But those are generally the best ways to connect. And then, I can put you in touch with whoever you need to be in touch with from the Stand With Crypto side. Or we're also doing colleges. I should mention that. Speaking of college football, Stand With Crypto is opening college chapters. So if you are a crypto enthusiast and you're someone who really, believes in this cause, and especially if you're, early in your years there, or you're going to be a 7-year senior kind of thing, start now, build the ecosystem. And I think you'll have a lot of fun, because I know I've had a lot of fun going to the games and talking to you crazy kids. So yeah, that's where to find me. And that's what my last pitch is.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. We appreciate it, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Well, what do you think? Dunsmoor, good guy, bad guy? What do we think of him?
I don't know, man. Reporting crypto holdings as, equivalent of slavery is kind of a crazy statement, but
that is wild. That is wild. Yeah.
No, I should not have. It's not actually a great joke. He didn't say that either. To be clear, let's put that to bed. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just funny. Like I've run into him at like so many crypto events, and like every time there's, he really has been like in the thick of it. Like you ask him about, especially with the current administration, like the amount of people he knows and the ins and outs, and he's on the front lines of like what will change. And he's always like, I always love seeing and hearing from him, because he's always like got like just a cause that he's taken up arms over in that world. So. Great guy to know, and definitely gave us some good insights. I don't want to. Well, go ahead.
I love meeting non-disaffected people. I love when seeing people buy into ideas. It's great to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially someone that's been in the space for this long. A lot of people get jaded over that amount of time.
Right. But housekeeping items. Do we gotta clean up house? What's going on?
Yeah, why don't we lean on Fluffy for this entire segment to tell us all about the updates for Bitcoin Summer. You might have seen from us that we did publish 2 blog posts this week. There's a series coming out. There's going to be a third one that's going to cover basically more in walkthrough style how to claim your rewards at the end of phase 1, which is coming up. What day is that on, John? Monday?
It's Sunday or Monday. I think it might end on Sunday. The exact time, I don't know. But
so. Yeah. Sunday or Monday, we've got the end of phase 1 coming up. The exact time we don't know. We don't have the block height earmarked or handy, but I'm sure we will be making an announcement about that. And the first article that came out was listing some high-level changes, and then the second one, which John, I'm sure you can dive into, which was your handiwork, was talking all about how to maximize your boost, because there are a couple parameters in the second phase changing. But why don't we talk about some of these high-level changes, John, if you don't mind diving in?
Yeah, sure. So kind of the first article, if you guys didn't read it, was about any kind of changes due to the incentives. And so the The Ethereum vaults were sunset, and now everything is based on Neutron, which is great for the flow of, as you're transacting and entering DeFi positions on Neutron. There's just a one-stop shop. The Bitcoin Summer tab will have everything you need to know. And then the wrapped BTC lending on Amber is getting a nice little boost. So previously it was a 3x multiplier, and now for phase 2, it's going to get a 4x multiplier. And so this is really important for scaling the leverage looping strategy on Amber. So of course you need a lending supply of wrapped BTC in order for people to borrow it and to swap for more max BTC. So increasing the incentives on that one should be pretty good for attracting more liquidity, and in return, juicing up the rewards for those lenders. And then the second article is mostly about the change to the boost and lock module. And so this is really important for people trying to maximize their Bitcoin Summer rewards. They're already looking really nice, but you can get up to 3 times more by locking up Neutron for various amounts of time. And in the first phase, you needed to lock for 4 years in order to achieve that 3x multiplier. And so again, it was you lock the same amount of Neutron as your Bitcoin Summer TVL for 4 years, and that's how you get 3 times. But now in the next phase, it's changing. So now you only need to lock it for 1 year. And so it's significantly easier to achieve a max boost. Previously at 4 years, that's basically an eternity. Like me personally, that's kind of like burning your tokens. 1 year is much more palatable. And it also gives people a chance to pull multiple levers in order to achieve that max boost. So now, same idea, you can lock your total amount of Bitcoin Summer TVL in Neutron for 1 year, you get the max boost. Or you can do something like lock up half of your Bitcoin Summer TVL in Neutron, but for 2 years. So the whole boost mechanism is linear. So now you can change how long you want to boost or how much TVL you want to boost and still get to your 3x multiplier. And so I built a little model with the help of ChatGPT to help you kind of identify how much more money you need to spend if you want to buy more Neutron in order to achieve that 3x boost, and based on your current positions, how much you're actually going to benefit by that boost. And so you can play with this little model, put in your Bitcoin Summer positions, how much Bitcoin you have in each of those positions, and then it'll tell you kind of how much you need to get to a 2x or a 3x boost. It's pretty handy, and it's nice. And also I should mention
awesome.
that the boost that you
GPT,
get,
Sorry. Is it a custom GPT that you built for this that you can just ship out that way?
No, I was just asking. I was like, help me build a model that takes into consideration this, this, and this, and this, and then we went back and forth. And then it spits out a little Google sheet with cells that are calculating based on each other. Yeah, it's nothing much. It's a Google sheet. It's really simple. And then
that makes sense. No, I thought it was maybe one of those custom GPTs you released, but sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
And so something important to note about the boost is that the total amount of incentives each day or each phase is unchanged. And so when you get a boost, you're actually increasing the portion of the rewards that you are receiving yourself. And so this matters. If more and more people start boosting, then it actually becomes a significant amount of rewards are going to the boosters. So if you're not boosting, you're going to get slightly less rewards than are advertised. And so if more and more people start boosting, more people see that, okay, 1 year lock is okay for me, they get more juiced up rewards, they're going to be bragging about it on the timeline, and you're going to feel left out that you're not getting these rewards. You're muted, Evan.
The meme that we kept referring to back when it first launched was that they're drinking your milkshake, right? So if only one person goes through the boost mechanism, then they're going to get all the rewards for the phase. And if more and more people are boosting and you're not, then they are taking away from they're taking away from what you see on the interface, right? Like you're not getting that full rewards amount that you're seeing on the interface, at least for the NTRN Bitcoin Summer rewards, right?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And it's a good point that you mentioned. It's just for the NTN rewards. And so, the Bitcoin Summer campaign is to bootstrap this BTC-Fi economy. And so at the end of the day, the most important part is going to be the rewards that are actually coming from DeFi. And so this is like when you're lending on Amber, you're already seeing over 1% lending or about 1% yield on wrapped BTC for lending. This is like 10 times more than if you're lending on Aave. And it's because there's actually, for the first time, native demand for borrowing Bitcoin. And this is because the product of Max BTC is yield bearing. And so it makes sense to borrow something for 1% APY if you can earn 6% APY for then minting that into Bitcoin. And you have very low liquidation risk because they're correlated assets. They're both, they're both BTC tokens. And so at the end of the day, these incentives are to encourage people to deploy to the various different types of strategies like lending, leverage looping, providing liquidity, so we can scale leverage looping on Bitcoin. That's never been done before in Web3. And ultimately, these rewards will start to come in from DeFi, not from the Neutron incentives themselves, which is the most exciting part about this campaign.
And I do want to bring up one thing here, if someone can just fill the airwaves for me for a second, because I wanted to, John, can you just touch real quickly about the Amber incentives and the clarification on what part of your position is actually being incentivized there? And then there's a screenshot I wanted to bring up to kind of emphasize this.
Yeah, so previously in phase 1, you would earn incentives on your total collateral on Amber. So how Amber works is you deposit Max BTC and then you borrow wrapped BTC or any of the partner tokens like Uni BTC, eBTC, Solve BTC. And then you swap that borrowed token for more Max BTC. And so what you end up with is a massive bag of Max BTC with debt in one of the other tokens. And previously you were being incentivized on this massive bag of looped Max BTC. And so now in phase 2, what you're being incentivized on is your initial collateral. So let's say you deposit $1,000 of Max BTC, you lever that up 10 times, and so now you have like $9,000 of Max BTC. You're still only being incentivized on that first $1,000 position.
Yeah, and it's showing kind of wonky on the screen here because the aspect ratio of the picture is not right. But if you check out the article, you'll see there's an under the active position it says equity. That will be the amount that you're incentivized on, as opposed to as big-brained Elijah would put it, what did you say, the nominal carry of the underlying derivative position or whatever he said.
Even just depositing into this strategy and looping it, you're getting like 40% APY on your Bitcoin. So that's pretty great. And then the additional, like I think 6 or 7% APY that you're getting from the Neutron campaign now on your initial deposit is just to, incentivize the strategy a little bit more. But really the strategy is extremely productive on its own.
Yeah. I've got a good feeling. I don't know. I think we're going to see some big TVL numbers come up. No financial advice. I don't know the future, but I went and saw a fortune teller last night, and she pulled out 3 tarot cards, and she put them in front of me. One was the TVL increasing. Another was me getting more handsome. And the third was Clyde going to Argentina. Clyde, are you heading to DevCon next week?
That's right, Evan. This fortune teller, man. I don't know.
How did she know?
Something's going on. Yeah. How did she know? I'm going on Saturday to Dev Connect. If there's any listeners in here that are curious to meet up and have a chat, we can talk BTC5, we can talk Neutron, we can talk Mate, we can talk Argentine stuff. Yeah, it'll be a good time. We're gonna have a Lido day. We'll go see some of our roots, so to say, and connect with some of those folk. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, by blood, I'm a Chilean citizen, so I am obligated to basically shit on Argentina whenever I can. So very, very.
That's
very
not where I saw that going.
Yeah, like they're not our friends, but I already know I'm gonna very begrudgingly enjoy myself because Argentina's admittedly really cool. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'll keep you guys. We can probably touch base in the next space. I'll give you some progress reports. Expect some content, some day in the life. So I'm gonna probably document the 31-hour journey I got here. So
I was gonna bring that up. The Hong Kong to Buenos Aires can't be. That's got to be like the hardest flight ever, right?
It turns out the Pacific Ocean is like a full 50% wider than the Atlantic. Like I knew it was a bit larger, but it's like we're basically I'm on the other side of the world. So that map you see in general, where it's got like the Americas on the west, like that is that's the world. On the other side of the map is just ocean. Is what
It's
I've,
just all water.
Yeah, it's just fucking water. So, yeah, it's I'm gonna like try and cut off some of that, go through the North Pole, and we're gonna go JFK and then to Buenos Aires. But it's what it is, man. I'm gonna have to hop myself up on the mate. You know, they got their natural caffeine ready for me, so should be fine. And I'll go see my grandparents after.
Will we see you next week on the live stream? Probably not, or will we?
Less than likely, but I mean, you know, it's just an hour. We could let's play that by ear. It couldn't be too hard. Yeah.
Like bright early in the morning for you.
Would it be? Oh yeah, that's not. I don't. Yeah. Tough one. Yeah.
You're not going to be
No,
adjusted to the time zone by then anyway. You're going to be all fucked up.
Yeah.
Whoop! I
No,
said the F word on YouTube.
Oh no. Okay.
Our channel's banned. Yeah.
We're fine. Yeah. We're banned. Demonetized. But
Yeah.
I'll give you guys some.
All that ad revenue we got coming in is
Yeah.
just gone.
Yeah. If not next week, then the following.
Yeah. We'll try and get the guys from Citrea on. Sorry if anybody noticed that we like made an announcement and then took it down. That was my bad, so sorry. But all right, gentlemen, we're at the top of the hour here. Any closing thoughts we want to talk about here before we wrap things up?
Maybe just one final mention that pretty soon people should be on the lookout for the blog that's going to be written on the claiming process. So you'll see a button show up on your Bitcoin Summer tab on the Neutron app, and it'll be pretty straightforward for how to claim your rewards. So looking forward to that personally, and also for everyone to collect their rewards from the first phase. They've been farming diligently for 60 days now, and it's time for them to get rewarded.
Love it.
I also just want to shout out Q Cult for all the support in here, all these lovely live chat comments. Shout out chat. Shout out Q Cult. Thanks for that, big man. Yeah.
Shout out Q Cult. And that's it. So we will see you guys potentially next week if it's John and I. And Clyde might be joining us. We don't know. We love having Clyde join. We always get better numbers when Clyde joins on his little shorts on YouTube. We get like thousands of views. So
Some of the best numbers. You won't find better numbers.
great numbers when this guy. Look at the previous episode. No viewership. All of a sudden, this guy joins. We're doing great. I don't know, but we'll see you next time. It's going to be a big show. Great show. All right, everybody. Cheers. We'll see you next week. Thanks.
You guys,
Goodbye.
thank you.